Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Current Status. Tonight, we're on Monday, which is completely different than our Thursdays, but it's a very, very special show today. We have we have two special guests, but before we get to them, first I should introduce myself. I'm Phoummala Schmitt, also known as Exchange Goddess on the Twitters, and my co-host.
My name is Theresa Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at 24/7 IT Connect. And I'm glad we're back this week with this little episode. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. And our guests joining us, introduce yourselves as well.
So we have, as I said, we have two guests from Nutanix. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves and let everybody know who you are?
Sure, Phoummala and Theresa, and thanks again for hosting us tonight. So my name is Julie O'Brien. I'm the Vice President of Corporate Marketing at Nutanix. I've been with Nutanix for just a little over a year, and my team is responsible for doing things like driving demand, driving brand recognition, and of course hosting our customers at all kinds of events, but especially the really large one that we just held in Las Vegas that is called .next. And
hi, I'm Rebecca Leibovici. Great to see everyone here. I'm the Director for Technical Enablement in Engineering, so R&D at Nutanix.
Great. So I guess the reason why we're all here today is something. I guess the Twitters and social media really took a bashing or bashed you guys on this. You guys had a party. And apparently there were some things that happened at the party that just seemed possibly inappropriate. So I guess let's just dig into it.
Sure.
I wasn't there, but apparently there was bikini-clad women, light up wands that look like words I'm not going to say right now because my 9-year-old just walked past me. But it just seemed like it just was not appropriate for a professional event, and some comments were that it objectified women, potentially made men uncomfortable. So what's your story?
Yeah, sure. So, and hopefully folks have seen, we very quickly issued a blog to apologize, 100% agree. That particular decision out of about 1 million decisions around this event was not a great one. It was a mistake. We were very, like I said, honored and humbled to have more than 2,500 customers join us for a 2.5-day event. There was a 30-minute, I would say, major lapse in judgment, a mistake that was made around, in particular, a wheel that's offered by the club. When you book your event at the club, and it was hot, we were in Vegas, figured a pool party would be a fun way to end the conference. But anyway, when you book this particular club, the wheel is part of the environment. You either use it or you cordon it off. Our team decided, it's Vegas, it's part of the entertainment when you come through the door, and it was honestly the wrong decision to make. It's unfortunate that, again, after 2.5 days of great content, great conversations, strong networking both by men and women at the event. We actually had a web-scale women peer networking event that was there, and the feedback was fantastic from the women who attended and said they were so appreciative of having Nutanix actually take the time to organize something just for them. So no question about it. We messed up. We should have gotten rid of that entryway wheel. It reflected the brand of the beach club, just didn't reflect the Nutanix brand and does not reflect the Nutanix brand.
So one of the questions that kind of came off like Twitter and some of the feedback that we heard was that the wheel was actually branded by Nutanix or had your branding on there. So at what point were those decisions made? Is that something that could have been removed, or were you not offered any opportunities to change that that decision that was made?
Yeah, no, so I think, again, it comes back to when you plan an event at this club and they offer their services, food and beverage, branding opportunities, whatever, that was part of the branding opportunity. That was part of the entertainment that was offered. It wasn't something we said, oh, we have a really great idea, why don't we bring in a Ferris wheel? You know, that wasn't something above and beyond, right? So, you know, again, it's something that we should have not done. It was clearly a mistake. We're deeply sorry for anyone that we offended along the way. And you know, I can assure you, our CMO has been very vocal on Twitter as well. You know, it won't happen again.
Yeah, there was another question that came up too. That um, was there a walkthrough prior to the party? And I understand the whole, you know, the venue, they have their packages, but do they give you an opportunity to walk through and show you what, you know, what's being displayed, potentially, you know, the servers, the wait staff, you know, the attire?
Yeah, no, they do a walkthrough, and they're, you know, they're great to work with. They're all about what they can offer and the brand experience around their, you know, around their pool, around their club. But when they walk through, they're pointing things out, right? Mm-hmm. So first thing you see this large structure, and you ask the question, what is that? Can it be moved? You know, turns out cannot be moved. Okay, well, if we don't move it, you know, what's the situation? And again, that decision was one of 1,000 that was made to create a really high quality experience. And you know, I think we've really clearly stated, you know, unfortunately, it wasn't the right one. You know, it's not reflective of who we are as a company. It's not reflective of the great work that we've been doing over the past year and a half to build out a Web Scale Women Initiative program. It's not reflective of the work that the HR team is doing to go out and sponsor organizations like IEEE, like WITI, and you know, get out in front and really create an environment where women want to be part of tech and want to be part of a company like Nutanix that is clearly disrupting the industry. And when you do that, you know, not everyone's happy about having their cheese moved, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess there are also comments. This isn't the first time something like this has happened before, and this is before you started, so, you know, pre-Julia, Julie time, there were other incidents like this. And I guess, you know, what's on everybody's mind is, how can this happen again? I thought, you know, they thought, well, maybe the last time was kind of like a wake-up call. And,
Yeah.
you know, we didn't think it'd happen again, but, you know, I understand that, you know, accidents happen. I mean, when you're planning an event, things go real quick. So I could see where some of this stuff kind of falls through the cracks, especially if you're trying to make decisions on the fly.
Yeah.
But I guess if it's happened before, something similar, it would almost seem like you would have to be a little bit more sensitive, especially with the whole women in tech topic itself is very sensitive right now, and just makes everybody sort of on edge with anything they do, because you know, you never know if you're going to offend somebody, whether
Right.
it's women, gay or lesbians, purple, you know, green. It's just this fear of, okay, who am I going to offend?
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like, you know, almost feels like, okay, did they not care enough to really listen to the voice of who could be really sensitive to this? Because
Yeah.
I just know from, you know, I know certain people that if they go to an event that has something potentially inappropriate, they would have to leave because their company, you know, would not approve of it. So it just makes it, to me, it makes me more aware of my surroundings when I go places or when I'm planning an event.
Yeah. So I mean, I can say, you know, this broke my heart. We put so much effort into really thinking about the user experience, just like we do with our products, you know, making it simple, elegant, easy to use, delighting our customers, you know, and thinking through how are we going to increase the women who are at the conference year over year, right? Last year was our inaugural year. So how do we do that on main stage? How do we do that on breakouts? How do we create an environment for women in tech to come together, you know, fostering this peer networking environment? How do we do things like even reach out into a more diverse community? We announced on the general session stage a donation to the One Orlando Fund to help victims and their families. So this, this significant oversight, it just, like I said, it broke my heart, because I know that it's not representative of who we are as a company, as a culture, and definitely did not reflect, what our core beliefs are. So I think, people are going to have to, everyone's going to interpret that in terms of, do they feel we're being authentic or genuine? And what I can say is, this is a bigger conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bigger issue, I think, women in tech. And we're going to tackle this, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but, watch Nutanix. One thing I've learned after being here for just a little over a year, when we fail fast, we learn, we move on, we redouble our efforts, and that makes us, stronger as an organization. And I would just say, watch this space.
Yeah, and I would say that. Oh, sorry, Theresa.
Go ahead. All I was going to say is, what are the lessons? What do you think the industry can learn from this? So, like this,
How do we move
this
forward?
can be an example that's bigger than Nutanix. So, what are the takeaways that we can all use and learn from?
Yeah.
Because you know what, honestly, this can happen to anybody, any vendor, and this is where, we wanted this to be fair for you guys and fair for, the audience as well, where this can happen to anybody. So for the haters out there, the bashers, one simple mistake that you do, I mean, this can happen. So, like Theresa said, how can we, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again, and how do we move forward as a community, as an industry?
Yeah. Do you have any?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess there's an opportunity here. And I look at this situation, I believe across Nutanix, there is deep regret, but there is an opportunity in there. We have a really well-established Women in Tech program that was started at the grassroots level a year and a half ago. Actually, when I joined, there was always a great female community within R&D, and that's where the program started. We've had great traction, actually globally, and we have extended the reach from across engineering to all areas in Nutanix. So we regularly, like monthly, put on events, outreach events. We're very committed to community initiatives. A recent highlight for me was one that we ran in Bangalore, was for the Big Dream School a month ago, where we worked with 130 disadvantaged and street children, put on a day of fun, education, served them lunch, donated educational materials, and put on a career panel for the teenagers. So that's an example of the commitment of the program. It's staffed by Nutanix women, a lot of executive support. We wouldn't have received the traction that we had if we hadn't. But we're really committed to connecting our community together, but as well as professional development internally. So we run a lot of education programs. We are about to launch a new career development initiative for women at Nutanix, where we'll be hosting one-on-one career development sessions for women. And there's a wonderful movement within our community, and I think that we can take this as a lesson learned. Obviously, there's steps to go within Nutanix, but also in the wider community. So, do we let this stop us? Do we let it? What's the decision here? I mean, my decision is let's extend our reach. Let's work harder, internally and externally. So, I think we should allow it to make us stronger as a community, come together, and learn a lesson here.
Yeah, and just so I'm thinking about this from the coaching that I can give my team too, and be thinking about, let's not get stuck thinking about how the world is today and designing our events or our experiences around that, but let's be thinking about what it could look like. You know, what if that audience was 15% women, for example, right? What would that experience look like? And I think to be, you know, just thinking about the way that we design our events in the way that we would like to see the workforce, the way that we would like to see the audience participating, and that should be, you know, that should be kind of our guidepost.
Yeah. I think that there really is, so in terms of the event preparation, we actually hosted a Web Scale Woman welcome cocktail party on the registration evening where we invited all female participants, and it really provided a great launch pad for people to connect together as a minority community at the conference. I know that a lot of the customers and partners appreciated those efforts, and I think next time what we'd like to see is that we carry that theme across the conference. So, you know, definitely lessons learned, but there's a lot of good stuff happening internally, and we want to continue with that.
So there's a question on the Twitters from Justin Warren. He asks, what about the system is being changed to prevent this from happening again?
Yeah, so I think we have to have tighter checks and balances in terms of reviewing and buttoning up our process around what we think, and I'll talk about it in terms of events first, right? What you know, what is okay? We spent a lot of time thinking about sort of the fun element, and again, this was a detail that was unfortunate and you know, and slipped through the cracks, and it's you know, it is what it is. But moving forward, I think from a tactical perspective, we need more eyes on the plan at key milestones and just making sure that we have that lens. We need to be doing things like I was just mentioning in terms of thinking about to have in the room and being more forward-looking on that rather than in the moment. We're already doing a lot around, you know, programs around cultural sensitivity and diversity, and like I said, you know, when things like this happen, one thing that's great about this company is we look at it as a huge opportunity. It is a catalyst for us to mobilize around something that we were already driving in the business, and I would say, you know, we're not going to flip a switch and solve everything overnight. It's a bigger issue across the industry, but you know, one of the things that we're excited about doing, and we had discussed with some you know, seasoned women in the tech industry, is how can we get a conversation going and share what we're experiencing, what we're learning in terms of best practices. Let's take that opportunity, maybe around an industry event like VMworld, and have the conversation, share, you know, what those best practices are, and at that point, you know, look at what is the roadmap that we can be, you know, building together as an industry, not just as Nutanix, but what are the pieces that we should be driving toward? What are the metrics that we should have in place for either percent of women in engineering or, you know, whether it's target speakers that I'm looking at from .next, but broadening the conversation.
I completely agree with you that it's, you know, it's bigger than Nutanix. It's an industry issue because it can happen to anybody, and I think everybody just needs to put their differences aside, regardless of who you work for, and look at the bigger picture. We're so, I mean, there was a comment on Twitter last week. Somebody said, well, it's Vegas. You should expect this kind of thing at Vegas. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, really? This is a professional event. So it's kind of twofold. Yes, it's a beach party, but at the same time, it's a professional event. You know, you should be a little bit more conservative about it. Are we as an industry, as a, I guess, society, just so sensitive to these issues that we're just waiting for somebody to screw up so, you know, they can be poked at, and then, you know, your competitors can just start ganging up on you and saying, oh, you screwed up. Look, you did it again. It almost feels like it's someone, it almost feels like it's a chance, or they're waiting for someone to screw up so you can take that opportunity to gang up on somebody. When really, is that really the root cause? Is that the real problem? I mean, you just have to take tech aside. I really don't care what company you work for. There is a bigger problem, and I think some people are afraid to really discuss it. And then I appreciate that you guys have come out and apologize. You know, and you want to move forward. You want to do better. to me, that says a lot. I don't care what anybody else says out there. You
No,
know,
I agree
the
with
fact that
you
you've come
too,
forward says a
Phoummala.
lot to me.
It does. And I know too, even out on Twitter, there was some scrutiny to that, like people over analyzing what was even released. And I think other companies have been in the same. So I think it does say a lot. And so, you know, I think people will be watching too. So they'll be watching for those lessons learned.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I saw a good talk the other day. I think it's actually from, it might have been from Google Women's event, and it went along the lines of failure is a bruise, it's not a tattoo. And I think that speaks volumes here too, right? I know that I mentioned, you know, that's one of the great things about this company. I think it's one of the great things about this culture. We learn, we make the right changes. This will be a catalyst for us again to continue something we'd already started, and I'm excited to see that happen. I'm excited to see the company really energized around taking that opportunity, seizing the opportunity. We had a town hall today, and I was really blown away by that energy, actually.
And you know, you guys have a lot of supporters out there too. Not everybody's being negative about it. You know, there's a Twitter follower, Will Fuller. He even said, you know, tech companies should stop having conferences in Vegas because it's just, you know, the venue should have said something too. I think I don't say they're to blame, but as you know, someone providing services like this, there should be a disclaimer of some sort saying, okay, the wheel's going to be there. You've opted not to quarantine off, but as an FYI, we are going to have women sitting there wearing bikinis, holding up flashing lights. Is that okay for you? Is this going to make you, you know, is anybody going to feel uncomfortable about this? It should just be a small disclaimer. Um, that's my opinion. You know, my 2 cents on that. Others may feel differently. Oh, it's Vegas. You expect. I'm like, not really though. As a venue provider like that, a small disclaimer, I think, is nice for companies coming in to hold these conferences.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting point. I think that the blame, you know, squarely for me falls on our shoulders. But I have had a couple of conversations with the club to just say, you know, you just gotta go that extra mile with the conversation, right? Ultimately, the decision, you know, falls on whoever's renting.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was your decision, but at the same time, I think when you're planning events like this, I mean, there's a lot to do. I mean, I personally just got done planning an internal tech expo for my company, and it took us 3 months, and it was just a small little half day, actually a 4-hour event, and it was just so painful. I can't really imagine, you know, planning a conference for thousands of people, and you're planning every single detail. Things are going to get missed, and I think that's where some people need to understand. Okay, yeah, it was a really, really big screw up again, but at the same time, you know, it is Vegas, and it's hard, you know, it's very hard to really say, okay, it has to be ultra conservative. It can be done, but it's also your second year of doing this too, in working with these vendors. So lessons learned for everybody, I think.
Yeah,
and for everybody planning to have a conference in Vegas. You know, I think you just have to really be extra cautious, extra attentive, and just work, you know, and just really go, okay, where's our auditor, our compliance check person? Because it is Vegas, and not everything stays in Vegas. It happens in Vegas.
Right.
Unfortunately, it comes back.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, we're.
I heard it was a great party though, a great venue. Yeah, the whole. Yeah, they said it was a great venue.
Yeah. Despite the 30-minute fiasco, yeah, it was. I think people had a good time. It was 108 degrees outside, so it was a little toasty, but yeah, I think people enjoyed themselves. And I just there are two. When something like this happens, right? There's sort of two things you can do. You can sort of stick your head in the sand and hope it goes away, right? And just not comment at all and just let things swirl around you. Or you can try to take ownership of the situation and continue to make things, you know, better. Use it as an opportunity, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we'll have folks who are listening to this podcast, be part of that conversation, be part of that movement. We are really excited to host something during VMworld and bring a group together. So for folks who want to be part of that, please reach out and message me, or you can go through Theresa and Phoummala here. But it's a defining moment for us, and I think we won't let you down.
And so for what you're trying to plan at VMworld too, that's not just open to women in the community, right? That's vendors and everybody, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Diversity. I think it's a bigger issue. It's a bigger cause.
It is.
It's just not about women. I think it's about inclusion of everybody. Even men that maybe have like Asperger's. They've got social problems. That are just not comfortable being around a lot of people. It just an inclusion of everybody to make them feel comfortable in the workplace.
Yeah, and I think there's some programs that we might be able to share too at that point in time. Yeah. One of the ones that we didn't touch on is called NewFlex. And we think it's pretty innovative. I haven't come across any other companies yet in the Valley doing exactly what we're doing here, but it's an opportunity for people who either are kind of nearing retirement, but they're not ready to fully retire, or they have a situation at home and they need to cut back on their hours. So it's not, it's not a leave of absence. It's really being able to create a work day and a work week that makes sense for you, where you are in terms of what you need to do in your households, either with an aging parent or children, or where you are at in terms of your career, but you still want to be part of a place like Nutanix. And so that pilot's going to kick off in RQ1, which starts in July. So we may be able to share some insights back out with the community too in terms of what that looks like. Again, that's not just for women. That's really for anybody who might want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and we're so excited about this program, which has inputs from across Nutanix, that we can also provide opportunities and support for women who want to have a good balance of work and family. So I think, selfishly, we'll be able to tap into some top talent in the community, but we also will be able to support women in the way that they want in the work environment, and make what a lot of us want, which is, being able to have that balance, a real reality. So we're really excited to kick that off, and I think, that will be something great to share, and sharing those results too.
Yeah.
So Theresa, I don't know if you're going to be at VMworld, but I think Phoummala, you will be, right?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Right now, I don't have plans to be.
Okay. Well, we'd love to have a conversation.
Yeah, we should talk. We should talk. One of the other things I was going to mention too, I just came from Citrix Synergy in Vegas, and they had a really nice diversity platform, kind of launched with this conference. Last year it was more focused on women, and this year it was diversity. And I think that based on everything we've discussed here, I think that it's a really good thing to step back and look at overall. Yeah. It's bigger than just the women.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to get on a soapbox. I've been following the Twitter stream, and I understand that this is just, it's unfortunate that it happened, and everybody knows me. I'd love to have a great time, and I'm reading the Twitter stream, and it's just so negative. And I get that this is 2 strikes on Nutanix, but at the same time, they're apologizing, and yes, they need to work harder. So it just feels like nobody wants to look forward. No one wants to move forward. It's just keep beating that horse dead. The horse is dead. Let's stop talking about
time to move on.
Yeah, the bikinis and light up wands. Everybody understands that Nutanix needs to work a little bit harder, maybe a lot harder than everybody else, because this is the 2nd strike. But it's happened to other big companies. The exact same thing has happened, and I'm not going to name them. You guys know who you are. It's happened to you guys, and it just seems like, okay, everyone's done talking. So let's try to move forward. Because I think that, I think Nutanix understands that, yeah, they screwed up and this was really big. So let's just be fair to everybody. And I would like to see a change from Nutanix, from the community. From everybody. Because I guess I'm just tired of people just complaining about women in tech, it's really nothing. Or then you have the women that are like, oh, women in tech, it needs to, something needs to be done. It's really, why don't we just all shut up and do something about it?
Yeah.
So there's my soapbox.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much complaining. Let's stop complaining and let's do something.
Yeah, less talk, more action.
Exactly. Let's stop talking about who screwed up and what they need to do better. Let's just do something about it. Get off your butts and let's make a difference in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we all get together and try to make a difference, it'd be a less chance of this happening again, because we're all going to be very conscious of it when we do this planning. And yes, I understand on Twitter's, it's not a little thing, but when you are planning an event, there are a lot of things that need to be done, and it just, things happen. So I see both sides of the fence. But what are we going to do as a community, as everybody, so this doesn't happen again to anybody, regardless of Nutanix or other vendors out there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got some programs in motion. You're going to hear a lot more from us in the space, and I would say, at least from the Nutanix side of it, I don't know what the Twitterverse is telling you for your answer to that question, but watch this space. It's our opportunity. This is a catalyst for us, and we will seize that opportunity.
Yeah, and there's huge commitment internally to move in a positive way and to support the female community in tech. We already have this great program which is very highly participated globally. There's so much support for it, and that's not necessarily visible externally, which is a shame. This incident is deeply regretted. It's definitely not taken lightly. It's taken very seriously internally, and we want to make a change. We want to make things better. So, I hope everybody takes our apology in the way that it's intended, and yeah, we look forward to moving forward positively with the community.
So what's your response to a comment where someone says it's more than just one event, it's the overall culture and attitude that the company presents?
Yeah, I think you have to either be a customer of Nutanix or work inside of Nutanix, to understand what the true culture is. And like I said, if there was a lot of talk and no action, then I think, maybe that's a fair statement. But if we're taking some just awesome steps to be inclusive, not just of women, but to really be working on a diversity program for such a young company. There's a lot of energy, there's a lot of passion here, and I just really feel like when something like this happens to us, whether it's on the product side or service side or whatever it is, whatever that sort of obstacle is or that issue is, it's in our culture, it's in our blood to seize that and make a change and be positive.
Yeah, myself, I've worked in the tech industry for 15 years. I work in engineering, so I am internally facing. Worked over 4 countries, had a lot of different experiences at a lot of different companies. And I have to say, from an inclusion perspective in engineering, that I actually haven't worked for I've worked for other big Bay Area companies. I haven't worked for a company that has made me feel so included, that has such a culture of innovation and the feeling that you can make whatever you want happen, dream the impossible. So, in terms of I can only speak to my own experience. It's been a wonderfully inclusive one, and it doesn't matter if you're male, female, black, white, or even if you're a New Zealander, it shouldn't matter. Everybody should feel welcome and included. So, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but you know, for me, that's the culture of Nutanix.
So, you know, a Twitter post here. So is the culture internally completely different than what is seen on the outside? And this is something I've noticed too. Some of the, I guess, perceived culture is a little aggressive. And from what you guys are saying, it doesn't seem that way. So it kind of makes me wonder, what's the real story? Is it just a few aggressive seeds out there that just give the perception that the company has a different culture? Because what you guys are spinning is completely different than what, you know, what we're seeing. So I think a lot of the audience is thinking, okay, this is just a bunch of smoke. And as somebody stated, this is a paid PR correction. No, this is not a paid PR correction.
No. But I'd also like to echo what Phoummala, I'd like to echo what Phoummala said too, in that, you know, I've observed some aggressiveness as well from some of the Nutanix folks, especially out on the social media over the past couple of years. So I think that's a valid point, that to whoever's asking that out on Twitter, I think it'll be really good to hear what you guys have to say about that. What's the difference, the internal versus the external?
Yeah, so I think you've heard from an employee perspective, you know, kind of how we feel on that. I would say talk to our customers, right? I mean, our, you know, sort of our three values are, you know, being hungry, humble, and honest. I think that those are three values we try to live and be very transparent and very forthcoming. When you're hungry and you're going after a market that's being disrupted, disrupting the legacy players, you know, not everybody is going to enjoy being disrupted. And I think that there have been a lot of competitive voices out there over the years around that. Maybe some more aggressive than they need to be, but I would say that in general, our culture is absolutely one of listening to customers, you know, staying humble, staying honest, and being hungry to disrupt and innovate on behalf of our customers and our partners. So if there are people out there that, you know, you feel are being aggressive, let us know. You know, if it's not appropriate, we'll have the conversation.
I think there's one common thread here too, which is around a passion. So if there's one thing, Nutanix employees are passionate. So whether it's, for example, myself about the Web Scale Women program and building that out, but also people who are in the more competitive arena too are very passionate. You know, sometimes it spills over as well. And yeah, you know, I can't really speak to that externally. It's not something I follow, so I can only speak really for the internal experience. But I do know that passion carries across, and
but keep us honest, right? I mean, that's part of who we are. So keep us honest.
Do you have someone that monitors your social media? That, you know, that maybe from the outside looking in?
Yeah, we do. We
Okay.
do. And if you think we need to have, you know, a more sensitive layer to that, or again, if there are tweets that you feel are, you know, borderline aggressive, or, you know, let's talk about it.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, just as Theresa, we've noticed throughout the years, there's been some aggressive, passionate comments, and it's definitely passionate.
I think so too.
You know, they're passionate about what they're doing, and that's great, but it comes off very aggressive, and it's the perception of what it's a perception of what the company is because of what their, you know, their passion is. That aggressive, you know, I'm going to be honest. I was given a quote for Nutanix for storage, and I looked at it, but my first thought when I got that quote was, wow, those are those really aggressive guys. I really don't want to deal with that. And I hated doing that because I wasn't really, I wasn't looking at the hardware, and I actually had to step aside, put the quote away and not think about that for a little bit and think, okay, I can't, I can't use that perception. I gotta look at from a hardware perspective only. But that's a shame because that was my first thought. And I think of that with there's other companies I do that with too. That aggressive behavior, it leaves that bad taste in your mouth. Like I really, I really don't want to deal with them. And I think that's where some of this backlash is coming from. The last couple incidents, people have now stamped you guys as, okay, they're, they're this aggressive company, it's in their culture, but is it really? It's just a few people on social media. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been here for a little over a year now, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's a great place to be. Leadership team is amazing. People are passionate about being here. They're passionate about innovating and disrupting and doing the right thing for customers. And so, hopefully some of this was kind of early days as the company was growing up. I haven't experienced that since I've been here. And again, if there's an example and you want to bring it to my attention, I'm happy to take that feedback and figure out what we can do better. That's again being having that honest conversation and being humble and taking that feedback is what we're all about. I don't think.
So would you encourage people to then? How would you encourage people that feel that way share that feedback with you?
Well, people have not been shy sharing other feedback with me.
Okay.
So I would say feel free, or drop me an email directly at julie.o'brien@nutanix.com. I'm all ears, really.
Apologize if I'm reading what the Twitters have to say, and there's some there's some supporters and there's some people making some, I think, some good feedback. Not necessarily. I mean, I'm looking at this as, okay, they're pointing to Nutanix, but I think it could be pointed to anybody.
Yeah, and I think to your point earlier, Phoummala, sometimes the IT industry can be an aggressive industry overall.
Yes.
You and I and Theresa and have worked here, and been in this industry for quite some time, and it is an aggressive sale. There are some big vendors out there who are known for having a very large, aggressive global sales force. So, I would just encourage folks, and Rebecca, I'm sure you've seen this too over the years. I would encourage people to talk to our customers, talk to our partners about who we are and our culture. We are a good community player and industry player, and sometimes it's sort of the industry itself. It's the passion, but just know that we are we're looking for that feedback, and again, we use opportunities that might not always go as planned as an opportunity to do better as a company.
Justin Warren says systems are in place. Look at the aviation industry. They learn from their failures. I think that's a great comment, Justin.
Okay, I will look at the aviation industry.
Because look at the aviation industry. I mean, they do learn. Well, most of the time they learn from their failures. When plane crashes, they figure out what happened, and what if it's a mechanical issue, they engineer these planes to be better and try not to have it happen again. So definitely, you don't learn anything if you don't fail.
That is true.
I think to reinforce what Julie said before as well, that we do deeply regret this, and we are committed to changing things going forward. So thanks for your comment, Justin, and please, I hope you can take away from this that we will be taking action and taking steps to remedy this.
Yeah, and I would say building on the platform that started grassroots, that's being formalized through your program and also through what HR is doing with things like the new Flex program, casting a wider net to universities, building a more diverse population, working with IEEE, working with WITI, engaging the community in a conversation like we're talking about to create an actionable plan around the VMworld timeframe. There's plenty going on here, and we can do more, and we will.
Now, would you say this has kind of turned you off from having the next conference in Vegas?
Well, if you're in the event industry, you know that Vegas is a very easy place to have fly into. You have nice hotels, and so there's a lot of that going for it. I think it's just you just got to be extremely careful about the environment that you're creating. How you're trying to promote your brand, what kind of user experience you're trying to have, and just be smart about those things. But yeah, it's quite ironic. There are quite a few back-to-back industry events that are happening in Vegas. So hopefully
everything is in Vegas this year.
Everything's in Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're way over time.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
So yeah, do we have any other questions we need to address, or do we want to wrap up soon?
I guess my comment would be for anybody, not just Nutanix, when you are planning an event, think of it as if your executive, your CEO, or whoever's in charge, your grandmother, if they would be uncomfortable or embarrassed to be at the event because of what you're displaying or what's going on, you probably shouldn't have it, or or sort of think twice with everything in Vegas, especially Vegas. But if you would think someone would feel uncomfortable in your venue, then you probably shouldn't have it. And that's just my suggestion. And it was really, what happened now, it's the past, but it's just going forward for everybody, regardless of the venue. It could happen in San Francisco. It could happen in Orlando. It could happen anywhere. It actually happened in Chicago last year at Microsoft Ignite, and there's a couple other parts. Microsoft had something this past March. Some women dressed inappropriately were dancing on stage and just not being very professional as well. So it happens not just in Vegas, and it happens to other companies.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. It's it's a bigger conversation, right? It's not just a Nutanix conversation. It's a bigger conversation for the industry.
Okay. Well, I think we've beaten this horse dead. more dead than it already is. I think you already said this. Someone asked how do they reach out to you if there is something?
Yeah, sure. I would really welcome that, and would really encourage that conversation. So you can either find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or you can just send me a note directly to julie.o'brien, OBRIEN, @nutanix.com. And I would really welcome also for the industry folks who are on the call, competitors or not, please be thinking about participating in this conversation, and and we're happy to share again what we're seeing with programs like NewFlex and other initiatives that we'll be putting into place. Some that were already planned, some that are on the docket, and would love to have you join that conversation.
Okay. Great.
Thank you, Theresa, and thank you, Phoummala. I know we ran over a little bit.
You're welcome.
No, it's fine. This is it's a big topic, and
it's a good conversation.
It is, and it's like I'm looking at the Twitter stream, and people just keep. It's like, yes, there are many lessons to be learned here, and I think you guys understand. I hope you guys understand that.
We wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. We understand.
The fact that
it seems like it.
that you've come out and you're saying you're going to do better. I think everybody's going to be watching. It's almost like they're waiting for that third time. So, I hope it doesn't happen again. And I'm confident that I think you guys are going to put some checks and balances into places because I think there's more watchful eye now, especially we're live and people are watching, and they want to see change.
Yeah. We will,
Thank
like
you.
I said, this is a catalyst. This is something that energizes us and mobilizes us, and I would say for sure watch this space. Great.
Yeah. No, I am hopeful for you guys and for everybody, for every company. Yeah, I think this is a lesson for everybody, not just Nutanix, that, next time, just, you don't want it to be you. It just takes a little bit more effort. So, okay, everybody, thank you. And I guess it's time for us to call it a night.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It was a
Thank
really
you.
great conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phoummala.
Good night.